He mapped it all out, every move, every minute, every method. It wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a moment of rage. It was written in ink. One man stood before a whiteboard in the privacy of his home, plotting the most horrifying crime imaginable. And when investigators finally broke into his home, what they saw on that whiteboard sent chills down their spines. This wasn't just murder. It was a step-by-step execution of evil. And the worst part, no one saw it coming. Welcome to True Crime Hub, where we dive deep into the minds of killers and the chilling truths that lie beneath the surface. Today's story is one that will haunt you. This is ***, the murder he planned on a whiteboard. Thomas Keller appeared to be everything a community could ask for in a neighbor. He was dependable, polite, soft-spoken, and always punctual. A dedicated father to 2 young children and a doting husband to Rachel, he worked remotely as a software engineer. On paper, his life was neat, structured, and successful. But beneath the surface, something darker brewed, something hidden behind his calm exterior. His neighbors saw him walking his Labrador every morning at exactly 6:30 a.m., rain or shine. He waved to joggers, smiled at mailmen, and even hosted barbecues during the summer. His life seemed so ordinary, so controlled. But Thomas didn't crave control for the sake of routine. He needed it to suppress the chaos inside him. His obsession with control had started as a child, when his parents fought endlessly, and he had coped by making color-coded charts, checklists, and diagrams for everything. His home office was a fortress of order, stacks of neatly labeled binders, symmetrical desk placement, and a pristine whiteboard mounted on the wall. What began as a workspace soon became something much more sinister. But in those early days, no one suspected a thing. Thomas was quiet, predictable. That, in hindsight, made him even more dangerous. At first, the whiteboard was just a productivity tool. Thomas used it to map project deadlines, daily schedules, grocery lists, and reminders. But slowly, cryptic phrases started appearing. Identify threat, secure timeline, and silence probability. At a glance, it could pass for project management jargon. But those who saw it, Rachel, his children's babysitter, a visiting cousin, felt something was off. The tone was cold, strategic. Rachel once joked, "Looks like you're planning a heist." Thomas had chuckled, but he didn't erase the words. By now, the board had been divided into grids, charts, bullet points, and color-coded lists. It wasn't a tool for work. It was a planning center for something else. Soon, Rachel noticed that the board never included any work-related items anymore. Instead, she saw phrases like, "Exit A equals front door, Plan B equals garage. 6 minutes window post-disposal. Suppress equals ethanol or chloroform blend." Rachel grew alarmed. She snapped a photo and sent it to her sister, who replied, "Is he writing a murder mystery or something?" Only it wasn't fiction. It was real. And Thomas wasn't fantasizing. He was engineering. Thomas had always been precise. But after being laid off from a prestigious tech company, he spiraled. To the outside world, he said he was freelancing now. But truthfully, his days were filled with something much darker. He spent hours researching criminal psychology, reading FBI reports, and watching hours of interrogation tapes. He bookmarked websites about acid disposal, chemical burn rates, and forensic trace management. His obsession shifted from control to domination. He wrote in his private journal, "They all laugh, smile, pretend to care, but no one listens. Not until you force them. Control is survival. Control is power." Thomas stopped sleeping in the same bed as Rachel. He claimed her snoring disrupted his rest. In reality, he wanted isolation. He needed space to plan. He began constructing a makeshift soundproof room in their garage. He claimed it was for recording voiceovers for a tech course. No one questioned it, but Rachel was beginning to see past the lie, and what she would find would make her blood run cold. Rachel always respected her husband's privacy, but one night, curiosity turned to dread. Thomas had left for a late-night grocery run. Rachel stepped into his home office to look for a missing charger. That's when she saw the whiteboard, completely covered from corner to corner. She froze. Phrases like, "Silencer construction test successful. Dosage testing log. Clean cut equals bone saw. Approximate 12 minutes." On a corner of the board, faintly erased but still visible under light, Rachel equals phase 1. She stumbled backward, heart pounding. She took photos. Dozens. Her hands trembled as she texted her sister again. "I think something's wrong with Thomas." Really wrong. But Rachel wasn't ready to run. Not yet. Over the next week, Rachel tried acting normal. She smiled, cooked dinner, watched Netflix. But her eyes scanned every movement Thomas made. She found a receipt for 10 gallons of hydrochloric acid, an online order confirmation for industrial gloves and respirators. When she confronted him, he played it off casually. I'm cleaning out the garage. Got mold down there. But she saw something different in his eyes. Coldness. Calculation. Rachel installed a recording app on her phone. At night, she placed it near his office. The audio she recovered made her sick. He was rehearsing scripts aloud. Phase 1, subdue. Phase 2, secure. Phase 3, dispose. Each sentence was emotionless, like a machine reciting code. She called a friend in law enforcement. She begged, can they do anything if nothing's happened yet? The answer chilled her. Unless there's proof of imminent threat, not really. June 14th. Thunderstorms rolled over the town. Rachel prepared to leave. She packed a bag, hid it under the bed, and waited for Thomas to leave for his morning walk. But Thomas didn't walk that day. I think I'll work from the garage today, he said. Got a lot to do. She texted her sister, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, call the cops. Rachel tried to act natural, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. When Thomas asked if she wanted wine that evening, something in her screamed to say no. She declined. He insisted. She pretended to sip. Later that night, her sister's call went unanswered. Rachel never showed up to her weekly book club. Her friends called, texted, knocked. No answer. By morning, one friend contacted the police. When officers arrived, Thomas answered the door calmly. She left, went to her sister's. Miscommunication, probably. Inside, the home was clean. The garage, spotless. The whiteboard, erased. One officer noted the bleach smell. Thomas claimed it was just spring cleaning. But something felt off. A search warrant was filed. 2 days later, officers returned with a warrant. In the garage, acid containers, recently emptied. Hidden drain leading to backyard soil. One small splatter of blood on the wall, missed during cleaning. In the office, a hidden USB labeled Project Phoenix. Recovered whiteboard notes via infrared scan. Notes included, Test 1 complete. No trace. Silence successful. Rachel, timeline met. Investigators uncovered chilling files. Videos of Thomas rehearsing his crime. Diagrams showing human anatomy. Searches for acid bath decomposition time. Draft email to Rachel's family. Never sent. Rachel left us. I tried. Rachel's phone pinged its last location near a wooded area 2 miles away. Police searched for days. Her body was never found. Thomas pleaded not guilty. He said it was all a fictional project. A twisted writing exercise. The jury saw through it. Prosecutors showed the whiteboard photos, the garage setup, the USB files. Rachel's sister broke down on the stand. It took the jury 3 hours. Guilty. First-degree murder. The verdict echoed across the courtroom like a thunderclap. Guilty. Thomas Keller sat expressionless as the words landed. The judge gave no leniency. Life in prison, without parole. But for Rachel's family, there was no closure. No body. No grave. No goodbye. The pain was unending. Rachel's mother sobbed as she clutched her daughter's wedding photo. He planned everything, down to the minute, and he still walks and breathes. The prosecution revealed that Thomas had written multiple drafts of exit statements to send to Rachel's family. Messages that were never sent, designed to delay suspicion. He never intended to be caught. The only reason he was because Rachel had acted fast. Her photos of the whiteboard became the centerpiece of the case. In prison, Thomas Keller became a fascination. Psychologists studied him, wondering if he fit into the mold of a classic psychopath or something more complex. He spoke only when necessary, ate meals in silence, refused all visitors, including his children. He asked for books on engineering and chemistry but never requested a Bible, letters, or therapy. When asked why he did it, he responded, "She would never let me be free." His chilling calmness disturbed even seasoned guards. The prison psychiatrist wrote, "He displays no remorse, no empathy." Thomas Keller isn't insane. His methodical evil. Perhaps the cruelest part of the tragedy was the effect on Thomas and Rachel's children. Emma, age 7, and Caleb, age 4, were taken into custody by Rachel's sister. Emma asked questions no child should ask. Why did Daddy make Mommy disappear? Did she get lost on purpose? Therapists worked tirelessly with the children, but their memories, Rachel singing lullabies, kissing scraped knees, slowly began to fade, replaced by courtrooms, whispered adult conversations, and a void of unanswered questions. A trust fund was set up by the community, trying to atone for what no one had seen or had ignored. Among Thomas' digital files was a folder labeled Dusk. Inside were unsent emails to friends, family, co-workers. Some read like goodbyes. Others were manipulative, designed to mislead and cast suspicion on Rachel herself. Rachel's been unstable lately. If anything happens, just know I tried. One draft read, "She ran off with someone. I think I pushed her too far." Thomas wasn't just planning a murder. He was crafting a story to evade justice. It failed, but barely. The digital evidence, combined with Rachel's foresight, were the nails in his coffin. Investigators still puzzle over the exact sequence of Rachel's murder. She was last seen at 7:08 p.m. on her neighbor's door camera, waving goodbye. From then, nothing. Thomas' activity logs show an Amazon order for a tarp and rubber gloves placed at 8:15 p.m. Security footage showed his car near the local woods at 3:21 a.m. A blurry figure opened the trunk. No body, no confession, just fragments of time that told a horrifying story. The garage's hidden chamber was chilling in its precision. Soundproof foam lined the walls. A steel table, shackles, plastic coverings, and a hidden drain. There were hooks on the ceiling. A concealed camera in the corner. Investigators called it a kill room. Thomas had studied crime scene cleanup techniques, purchased deodorizers used by professionals. He even lined the walls with temporary insulation, to later be removed and discarded. Everything was temporary, except his intent. Rachel's best friend, Julia, came forward after the trial. She revealed text messages from Rachel that detailed her fear of Thomas. "He watches me when I sleep. He measures things around the house like he's prepping for something." Julia had encouraged her to leave, but Rachel responded, "He'll find me. He knows where I go, who I talk to. I feel like I'm in a cage." Julia lives with the guilt that she didn't do more. But who could have imagined the depth of Thomas' plan? Without a body, the prosecution had to rely on microevidence. A blood droplet found behind a garage cabinet. Rachel's hair strand inside a drainage pipe. Luminol revealed smears cleaned too well to be accidental. Crime scene experts testified that the setup mirrored that of execution chambers used in Black Ops military operations. It was precise, intentional, calculated. Thomas hadn't just snapped. He had trained himself to kill without leaving a trace. Profiler Dr. Maria Ellison studied Thomas' behavior in detail. She concluded he wasn't a typical domestic abuser. He was something far rarer, a predatory control killer. He didn't kill out of anger. He killed out of strategy. He rehearsed it like a performance. Thomas displayed traits of narcissistic personality disorder, high-functioning sociopathy, and obsessive-compulsive tendencies. But his most dangerous trait, patience. He waited for years. That's what makes him terrifying. The neighborhood once filled with barbecues and birthday parties turned silent. Neighbors who had smiled at Thomas, invited him over, even asked him for computer help, now questioned their judgment. One neighbor said, "He was quiet, polite, never raised his voice. You just never really know someone." The Keller house was sold months later, repainted, renovated. But no one wanted to live there long. People claimed they heard crying at night. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was the echo of a soul silenced too soon. Even after conviction, Thomas Keller's reach extended beyond prison walls. Authorities discovered scheduled posts in his online accounts, set to publish months after his arrest. One post read, "She made me do this. I planned because she forced my hand." Another contained manipulated images of Rachel, meant to smear her name posthumously. The courts quickly ordered takedowns, but the damage lingered. Rachel's family called it a digital haunting, a ghost crafted by Thomas's ego to live on beyond bars. While cataloging Thomas's belongings, investigators found a leather-bound journal titled "Clearing the Slate." Inside were detailed diary entries, written like case studies. Each one described a person who had wronged him, a childhood bully, a college professor, a former boss. Each entry ended with a hypothetical plan: where to find them, how to subdue them, how to dispose. It wasn't just Rachel. He had been preparing a list. Digging into Thomas's past revealed disturbing clues. He was raised in a rigid household where love was conditional, achievement demanded. His father, a former military officer, was emotionally distant. His mother struggled with alcoholism. At age 9, Thomas killed the family dog after it chewed his toy. When asked why, he reportedly said, "It didn't follow the rules." He was sent to therapy briefly, but the sessions ended after a few months. No one followed up. 6 months after the trial, new owners of the Keller house reported a strange odor from the basement. Contractors discovered a false wall. Behind it, a hidden room lined with plastic sheets, a mattress, and restraints. On the walls, more notes written in marker. Control is key. Emotion equals weakness. Test again with longer restraint time. Was it a backup location, or had Thomas used it before the garage setup? The thought chilled investigators. Freedom of Information request revealed a prior police report from a neighbor. Filed a year before Rachel's death, it mentioned screams and tools clanking late at night from the Keller garage. No follow-up occurred. The report was marked as low priority and closed without investigation. The neighbor, an elderly widow, now lives with the weight of what might have been stopped. "I heard something. I just didn't want to get involved." A lesson too many learned too late. Recovered from a locked cabinet in the bedroom, Rachel's journal gave voice to her final days. "He doesn't look at me like a person anymore. I feel like data, like something he's analyzing. I don't think he wants to fix things. I think he's waiting for the right time to do something." Her entries grew increasingly fearful, but none mentioned plans to escape. She felt trapped, watched, analyzed. The last entry simply read, "Tomorrow I will leave. If I can." She never did. The case exploded in national media. The Whiteboard killer became a headline in every outlet. True crime shows recreated his garage. Podcasters dissected every phrase on the board. Debates raged. Was he a product of environment, or born this way? Rachel's sister criticized the attention. People are fascinated with him. But she was the victim. Remember her name, not his. Deep within encrypted files, the FBI discovered a document titled The Reset. It was over 150 pages of what Thomas called a guide for post-emotional living. Inside, he outlined philosophies justifying violence as control and control as peace. He described how society failed by allowing emotion to govern justice, relationships, even parenting. One chilling excerpt. "A clean world is a quiet world, and silence is peace." It wasn't just a plan. It was a belief system. A journalist was granted a rare interview with Thomas at Ironwood Correctional Facility. Thomas sat still, clean-shaven, eyes empty. "Do you regret what you did?" He replied, "Regret implies mistake. I didn't make one." When asked why he documented everything, his answer was blunt. "If you're going to do something right, you record your method." The interview ended when he leaned forward and asked, "What would you erase if no one could stop you?" Despite the horror, Rachel's story became a rallying cry. Her sister founded the Rachel Project, a non-profit supporting women in controlling or threatening relationships. They offer emergency exits, safe tech practices, and educational outreach. He planned her end, but he didn't end her voice, her sister declared at the launch. Rachel's photo now hangs in community centers, her story taught in training for domestic abuse awareness. Even in death, she warns others. Her voice echoes where it matters most. The glare of the media spotlight had only sharpened the cracks forming in Nathan's perfect persona. With detectives now tailing his movements and classmates whispering in hushed tones, the pristine image he had so meticulously crafted began to chip away. The whiteboard, once wiped clean of evidence, was now symbolic of something far more sinister: erased guilt, scrubbed intentions, and a warped sense of control. Detective Lana Briggs had followed a hunch that Nathan's journals might have survived. She had combed through tech stores, consulted with digital forensics experts, and now, with a warrant, gained access to a cloud backup linked to an old tablet Nathan had discarded. The files revealed sketches, graphs, timelines, all eerily meticulous, all leading to the conclusion that this murder wasn't just planned. It had become Nathan's obsession. Beneath the surface of Nathan's cold calculation was a disturbed and layered pathology. A profiler joined the case, Dr. James Holloway, who concluded that Nathan didn't just want the victim dead. He wanted to witness the unraveling, the chaos that would ripple outward. He had set the stage in such a way that friends turned against each other, faculty lost trust in students, and the university itself felt like a haunted shell. The profile presented a chilling insight. Nathan saw murder as a systems design problem. Inputs, outputs, predictable human behavior, all managed and forecasted like lines of code. His victim, Julie Travers, had unknowingly stepped into a simulation she was never meant to escape. Julie's parents released her final voicemail. It went viral. She had recorded herself sobbing in her car, parked a few blocks from campus, describing how she felt watched. Paranoia creeping in. How Nathan's sudden friendliness felt like a trap. "He's too perfect," she had whispered. "Like, he's pretending to be someone I should trust." The voicemail triggered public outcry. Forums ignited. Students began to post stories of strange encounters with Nathan. Conversations that felt scripted, smiles that never reached his eyes, moments where he lingered too long by himself in empty rooms. Suddenly, Julie's voice was no longer alone. The facade cracked wide open. Investigators were stumped by a 2-day gap in Nathan's timeline leading up to the murder. Surveillance footage confirmed he wasn't in his dorm, nor at any known family location. A breakthrough came when a campus shuttle driver remembered seeing Nathan exit the vehicle at the edge of town near an abandoned quarry. They searched the area. What they found buried beneath sheets of plastic in a dry drainage pit stopped everyone cold. The actual whiteboard. Not the one from the classroom. This one was portable, hidden, filled with chilling notes, pseudonyms, timelines, and behavioral manipulation graphs. In one corner, a countdown. It ended the night Julie disappeared. The DA moved swiftly. Nathan was arrested in the middle of a lecture, ironically one on ethics and artificial intelligence. Students stared as he was led away, stone-faced. He didn't resist. As if this, too, was part of the plan. In the courtroom, prosecutors presented a psychological horror. The whiteboard was displayed before the jury, reconstructed digitally, with each point matched to a real-world act: surveillance, manipulation, rehearsed alibis. The defense tried an insanity plea. But Dr. Holloway testified otherwise. Nathan wasn't delusional. He was methodical, emotionless, a thinker who chose destruction because it intrigued him. From jail, Nathan wrote letters. To the judge, to his parents, but most chillingly, to Julie's younger sister. "You should understand," one read. "She was the first variable I couldn't fully predict." It was both an admission and an eerie expression of frustration, as if Julie had messed up his code. The letter sparked national debate. Was Nathan a new breed of killer, raised in code, logic, and simulation, but emotionally disconnected from consequence? Podcasts dissected his words. Psychologists penned articles. The term whiteboard killer stuck. Julie's story became the rallying cry for change in university safety policy. Anonymous tip lines were launched. Behavioral monitoring training was offered to professors. Student groups organized awareness campaigns titled "Erase the Danger," using whiteboards as visual metaphors for signs of calculated harm hiding in plain sight. True crime influencers covered the case. Netflix offered a documentary deal. Nathan's trial became public spectacle. But beneath the spectacle was grief. Julie's mother said at the sentencing hearing, "We didn't just lose a daughter. We lost trust. In people. In institutions. In the idea that evil wears a face we can recognize." The jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. Guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, criminal conspiracy. Nathan was sentenced to life without parole. No expression, no emotion, as if the verdict was simply a variable he had already accounted for. But for the families in court, justice, while necessary, didn't fill the void. Julie's father spoke quietly to reporters. He may have used a whiteboard, but my daughter's life wasn't erasable. She mattered. She still does. Years later, Detective Briggs published a memoir. In it, she described how hard it was not to hate Nathan. He was everything we teach our children to strive for: polite, disciplined, intelligent. But beneath that was something colder than hate. It was calculation without conscience. She warned law enforcement that the next Nathan could be quieter, smarter, more digital. The whiteboard was just a tool. The real danger was the mind behind it, one that saw people as algorithms, empathy as a flaw. Julie's sister launched a foundation, Erase the Silence, to empower students to speak up about manipulation, stalking, and unseen threats. The foundation funded whiteboard memorials in universities, where students write affirmations, concerns, and names of victims lost to violence. If you're watching this and something feels off in your life, don't stay silent. Tell someone. Document it. Speak up. Evil often hides behind the familiar. Sometimes it plans everything. Step by step. just like Nathan did. The courtroom fell silent as an unexpected witness took the stand. It was the janitor from the building across from Damien's apartment. No one had called him before. His eyes flickered with nervousness as he recounted what he saw the night before Chloe vanished. Damien standing shirtless on his balcony, scrubbing his hands with bleach and tossing something heavy into a dumpster below. The defense scrambled to discredit him. "Why didn't you report it sooner?" "I was afraid," the man whispered. "But when I saw Chloe's face on the news, I couldn't live with myself." The prosecutor capitalized on the moment. So, Mr. Warwick wasn't only planning murder. He was covering it up before he even did it. The jury leaned forward in their seats. This was new, chilling, and it cracked open the defense's timeline. The detectives had gone back through every file Damien left behind. One of them, a digital note buried inside a folder titled Financial Forecasts, was finally decrypted. It was a step-by-step breakdown of what he expected to happen post-murder, from the search parties to media cycles to when the case would likely go cold. It ended with a single, final line. "If I'm ever caught, I'll just say I snapped." The prosecutor read that line out loud in court. Damien showed no emotion. But in the gallery, Chloe's sister began to cry. Chloe's mother, Marianne, was called to testify. Her voice trembled, but she stood tall. She described the last time she saw her daughter, the morning before her death. "She hugged me tighter than usual," Marianne said. "I asked her if something was wrong. She just smiled and said she'd be okay. Then she looked straight at Damien. You took my baby because you couldn't control her." The courtroom was dead quiet. Even the judge took a breath before speaking again. Damien's calm exterior finally cracked. During a cross-examination about his obsession with whiteboard planning, he lashed out. "You think I just killed her on impulse," he snapped. "You think she didn't deserve." Gasps. "Hey,